I got off the plane, and this lady calls, and this coon just fell through my ceiling, and it's in my kitchen. And I was like, are you okay? Where are you? She says, yeah, I'm in my pantry. I was like, why are you in the pantry? It's the first store I came to. And she was like calling me on her cell phone. So I immediately went over to her house, and sure enough, raccoon had fallen through the ceiling and landed on her kitchen counter. And the raccoon had tore everything up because it was trying to get out the windows, and it couldn't. This poor lady was in the kitchen pantry, which was one of those big walk-in pantries. She had shut the door. She was too afraid to open the door to go back out in her house.
Oh, boy.
So I captured the raccoon, put it in a cage, got her out of the pantry, cleaned up the mess, patched up the ceiling. Anyway, I gave the lady her house back. She was able to sleep last night, and that's what I mean when I rescue people from wild animals.
Welcome to St. Louis in Tune, where we size up current and historic events involving people, places, and things in areas such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports. Our weekly podcast gives you the edge to live a more informed life. We discuss more than just St. Louis as we connect the gateway city to our country's current cultural fabric and lives. We've got a very interesting guest. He likes to rescue animals such as bats, squirrels, skunks, and hawks with his bare hands.
Oh, my.
He's assisted and supported wounded birds of prey that have been severely injured in a human versus kind of a wildlife conflict. He has been raised in the swamps of Louisiana, or for those of you who want to pronounce it, Louisiana.
I'd say he survived the swamps of Louisiana.
And he called the Catahoula Swamp his playgrounds.
Oh, my.
And he's loved animals for his whole life and has actually done some acting in the entertainment industry. But he loves animals, and he's here to talk to us about animals and also a kind of interesting project he's got going on that has some cha-ching value at the end.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking about Michael Baran. He's the owner of Wildlife Command Center and also the president of Raptor Rescue, Inc. Michael, welcome to St. Louis in Tune.
Hey, thank you for having me today.
So talk about this Catahoula Swamp that was your playground. Were there swing sets and slides and all that kind of stuff?
No, I'll tell you, Little Swamp is 21,000 acres of just pure Louisiana swamplands with all the bayous and the marshes and just...
And gators.
I mean, there are people out there, and alligators and cottonmouth snakes.
I'm done.
There are people that actually live out there that were considered unique.
Wow.
Unique how? Because they lived out there, or?
That would make them unique.
Yeah, some things, they didn't come to town much often, didn't speak the best English. They were true Creole, and they really lived that I'm a swamp person life. And we were real careful with those folks because they were just like a little bit outside of society.
I got that.
But our house set on 40 acres of land, and our land backed up to where the Catahoula Swamp officially started, so there were no roads to access into Catahoula Swamp. When I went out into the swamp, it's because we had a path that was about 2 miles long that went from our house out into the swamp. Once you were out there, you pretty much go where you wanted to go. If you wanted to go catch frogs, if you wanted to go catch crawfish, if you wanted to go catch baby alligators when they hatch, whatever it is you wanted to accomplish.
Now, how big are the mosquitoes down there?
My mom had one rule.
What was that?
What's that? How big or what?
How big were the mosquitoes?
Oh, my mom had one rule. Oh, the mosquitoes, so certainly, there's different kinds of mosquitoes, right? There's the little bitty ones that hurt heck, and then there's the big ones that just suck you dry. I hated the little bitty ones because whatever it is that they injected in you, man, it hurt, made you swell up, itch.
Huh.
And then, of course, if you had too many of the big ones on you, you might get dehydrated and not make it back.
The Dracula mosquitoes?
Oh, my God. That's what I got
Literally.
in my backyard, yeah.
I can remember smacking those things, and there's a big blood splatter on your arm after you smack them.
Yeah. You wonder where that blood came from, too. Whose blood is that, I wonder?
Right. Whose blood is that? Hope it's mine.
Yeah, really? Okay.
So what was that one rule your mom had?
So my mom had one rule. So You have to know I'm the oldest of 4 boys, and we were real boys, no girls in our family for 5 generations. And I'm the oldest. Mom had one rule. We could go out in the swamp after school was out on Friday. We had to be back home before dinner on Sunday, which was 5 o'clock.
Wow.
That was the rule.
Wow.
And, you know, from the time I was 12 until I graduated high school, baby, I was out there because there was work to do on the farm. And if I was out in the swamp, I didn't have to do as much work.
Wow.
Or at least that's what I thought when I was a kid.
You were having a different kind of education.
Yeah.
I sure was. You do learn things out in the swamp. And my mom and dad bought this big old huge, Britannia encyclopedia set.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day. This was like 70s. And I just remember that I would visually take a photograph of the stuff I was catching out in the swamp. And then when I got back home on Sunday evening, man, I would be in that encyclopedia looking up to see exactly what that was. And and just so you know, in the 70s and the 80s, that's what we had to do. We had to use our minds to take a photograph, and then we had to look it up in a paper encyclopedia because there wasn't any internet or iPhones or any of that good stuff we have now.
Michael, I can't help but ask, if you're out there the whole weekend, where did you sleep? In a tree? How do you stay?
I'm glad you asked that. So it depended upon how froggy I felt. Like sometimes I would pack up a pack that had a sleeping bag in it, a tent, maybe 2 or 3 cans of food. But me and my brothers, we did survival weekends. We thought we were really doing something. We would do survival weekends where we would say, okay, you can only bring 3 hooks and fishing line, or we can only bring 1 can of food. And we would, in the swamps back there, the edges of the swamps had deciduous trees and evergreen trees. And so you had a lot of pine trees, especially the longleaf loblolly pine. And I tell you that we would go out there and we would make lean-tos, and then we would take all that pine straw and pile them up on our lean-tos, and we would make some really nice beds and little shelters. But if I felt particularly strong or feisty, I would pack up a pack. But, man, I'm going to tell you what, after 15 miles with a 40-pound pack on you, you get wore out.
Yeah, you do. Yep.
You know?
Yep, I do know.
So the bare minimum was always better. We would always take what we considered fire starter, which was like a metal file and some ferrous rod of some sort.
Yeah.
We would take that out. We didn't have all the modern things you can get now. Now you can go to Walmart and get incredible fire starters.
Right.
But we would take that, or we would take the old-fashioned matches out of the kitchen, and we would put them in a medicine bottle, and we would take the one strikes that you could say you could strike anywhere. And so if we wanted to do a real survival weekend, I can remember one weekend in particular, me and my brothers decided that everybody could bring 1 match. That was it. That was the only thing we could take.
Wow.
And that was a particularly hard weekend because out of 3 matches, because my youngest brother was always too young, but my 2 other brothers, out of 3 matches, none of them, we didn't get any of them to strike. And so we spent the whole weekend out there without a fire. And I'm going to tell you, in a survival instance or even just a hanging out instance, you need fire. Like, you got to have fire. Oh, yeah. That's the one thing you have to have. Because if you don't have fire, you don't have good water to drink. If you don't have fire, you got mosquitoes all over you. That's and right. If you don't have fire, there's creepy stuff out in the swamp. It's not going to really hurt you, but it sure creeps you, and you just can't sleep good.
Man, and if it creeps somebody who has been in the swamp, man, you got the hair on the back of my neck standing up. So
I could tell you, we used to have swamp stories, too. We would tell swamp ghost stories and swamp creature stories, and we'd scare ourselves to death.
Yeah, the swamp creature.
You need to write a book about that. Swamp stories.
I know.
Swamp stories. Be a good one.
So we had a Catahoula leopard hound, which is a Louisiana hunting dog. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Wow.
Sure, absolutely. So when I was growing up, the Catahoula cur, and you could always tell a Catahoula cur from a fake because a Catahoula cur had black on his tongue. And and somebody that was just passing off a dog as a Catahoula cur because it was leopard, which means it was gray with black spots and gray with some white and black spots on it. If it had black on its tongue, it was a true cur. Now, when I was growing up, people were allowed to run livestock in the swamps, okay? And when I livestock, people ran cows in the swamps and people ran hogs in the swamps. And they would go once a year and they'd round these animals up. Well, the Catahoula cur, the really good Catahoula curs, would go out there and you'd take 2 or 3 of them with you, and they would corner your boar hog, your big boar hog, and pin it so that you could capture it and bring it in. Once you got the boar hog in, it was pretty easy to rile the sow pigs up. The sow pigs would all stay together as a sounder. That's what a bunch of hogs is called, a sounder. But the boar hog would always go off somewhere. Really good Catahoula cur dogs could pin the boar hog, hold it down until you could get over there and tie its feet up and then pack him out.
Wow.
It gives new meaning to the term Founders Day.
Sounder with an S.
Oh.
Sounders.
Sounder. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me, Founders Day, people.
That's that little bit of accent that's left on me between the F's and the S's.
No worries. No worries. Yeah. So how'd you get into, well, I can see now a natural progression into being like a snake wrangler and an animal trainer and with Wildlife Command and raptor rescue. But what was that transition like for you to really get involved in rescuing animals and being like a professional wildlife control for residential and commercial people?
Before I tell you that, I have to tell you just a little bitty part of history. I graduated high school early. I was 17 when I graduated, and I immediately went into the Navy, volunteered for submarine duty, and volunteered for nuclear weapons.
Oh, brave soul.
I did time on submarines, and I was a nuclear weapons specialist for the 3rd stage IMU. And when I got out of the Navy, I climbed the corporate ladder of the Marriott Corporation. And so I learned business through the Marriott. And then I got a gig as a vice president of a construction company, which was very beneficial. They went bankrupt. Then I told my wife, I'm going to do something that I want to do, and I'm going to trap animals. So you can imagine me going from a 6-figure income vice president of a construction company to trapping animals. She was not exactly thrilled.
I bet.
At all. However, because of my business sense and the learning how to run a business, not only through the Marriott Corporation, which I'm very grateful for the training they gave me, but running a business for a vice president of a construction company, I learned construction and how a small business is run. And so that, I think, is the core foundation of what's made Wildlife Command Center so wildly successful.
No pun intended there on wildly successful.
No, not at all.
So what happens to you guys on a daily basis?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
What do you guys do on a daily basis? Run us through what's a normal day, and it could be different at different times of the year, like from summertime to wintertime, fall, because I know different animals do different things at different times of the year.
Every day we rescue people from wild animals. Okay. I'll give you an example for today. Start with today. So today, as soon as I'm done with this call, we are going to pull out a huge honeybee hive out of the center of this lady's living room.
What?
Now, it's a three-story house, and there's honeybees have gotten into the house, gone through the first-story subfloor, and right in the center of the living room, in the ceiling, just above the drywall, there is a honeycomb that is 5 feet long and 18 inches wide, and we're going to cut that whole ceiling out, and then we're going to vacuum all the bees alive because we want to give the bees a better home and we don't want to kill them.
No.
But we're going to vacuum them all out with a special vacuum, capture them alive. We're going to cut the honeycomb out. We're actually going to use some of that honey, but most of the honeycomb we're going to give it to the bees to utilize to build a new home somewhere else that's not inside somebody else's home. And we're going to give the customer her house back.
Wow.
Where do you take the bees?
So headquarters is in St. Louis, Missouri. That's where headquarters is. Now, I've got 9 offices all the way to Sacramento, California. But we're in St. Louis right now, and so we're going to take these honeybees to a honeybee farm that's 20 miles away. We're going to set them up in a special box. We're going to give them their old honeycomb back so that, one, they can hatch out some of the larvae that they have in there, but also they can have a really good established new beginning so that they can be successful as a hive.
That's great. That's fascinating.
Now, that's just what we're doing today. Now, what we did yesterday was last night at 8 p.m. So I flew from Las Vegas, where I was filming Arena Wars, which I'm featured in Arena Wars as Gideon, the CFO of this futuristic corporation. But anyway, I flew from Las Vegas yesterday at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got to St. Louis at 4 p.m. because I had to go to Atlanta, then I had to go to Nashville, then I got to St. Louis. And then I got off the plane, and this lady calls, and coon just fell through my ceiling, and it's in my kitchen. And I was like, are you okay? Where are you? She says, yeah, I'm in my pantry. I was like, why are you in the pantry? It's the first store I came to. And she was like calling me on her cell phone. So I immediately went over to her house, and sure enough, raccoon had fallen through the ceiling and landed on her kitchen counter, and the raccoon had tore everything up because it was trying to get out the windows, and it couldn't. This poor lady was in the kitchen pantry, which was one of those big walk-in pantries. She had shut the door. She was too afraid to open the door to go back out in her house.
Oh, boy.
So I captured the raccoon, put it in a cage, got her out of the pantry, cleaned up the mess, patched up the ceiling, and then I went to figure out how the raccoon get in the attic in the first place.
Good question.
So anyway, we got her a hole. I found the hole where the raccoon, and also this was a mama raccoon. There were 4 young raccoons that were little. I chased them down in the attic, caught them. We took them to a facility where they can do it. They think they can release the mom and the young somewhere where she'll take care of the young somewhere else. But anyway, I gave the lady her house back. She was able to sleep last night, and that's what I mean when I rescue people from wild animals.
That makes sense.
Yeah. This needs to be a TV series. I know. It really does.
Hey,
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. You need a TV series. Yeah.
Yeah, because we've already filmed it. We're just waiting for the announcement, and you need to have me back on the program once the network, I can't say, the network, you know who it is, the network releases it and announces the show. Then you need to have me back on the radio so we can talk about it.
We'll do that.
We can't wait till Animal Planet picks it up. I'm just shooting in the dark here.
You said it.
Not
Come
you.
out of my words, not my mouth. I can't be held liable.
Sounds like a great show. So, I mean, you're describing this, and I thought, where are the cameras? We need the cameras to be rolling, pulling this poor old lady out of her cupboard. Come on out.
Hope it was full.
Hey,
that raccoon's gone.
She had to stay in there. I did a lot of work, and I actually got my start in the movie industry on a TV series called Billy the Exterminator. Huh. It was filmed in Shreveport, Louisiana. My company I started the company, Wildlife Command Center, in Shreveport, Louisiana, before I moved it in 2014 to St. Louis. But I got my start in the industry on that show. And if you go to my IMDb page under imdb.me/Michael Baran, you can see all the different TV shows that I've done, the movies I've done, the films I'm involved in, and all the films that are coming up that I've been involved in, either an animal trainer or an actual actor, which I act like I'm an actor. But Billy the Exterminator was like this show, except for Billy was just kooky, crazy, off the wall. People just loved him because he was so eccentric and out of this world.
What's been the most challenging animal rescue, or I should say human rescue, right, that you've ever done as it relates to animals?
Oh, as it relates to animals. So definitely huge colonies of bats that we've had to pull out. Like, we had a church that had over 20,000 big brown bats in it.
Were they in the belfry? I couldn't resist. Were they in the belfry?
I knew he was going to say that.
There were some in the belfry. The church had bats in their belfry. But, yeah, sometimes it's the structure, sometimes it's the animals. But we had to get all these bats out in such a manner that, one, we didn't harm the bats, and two, that the bats went out the proper way and didn't go inside the church. Every building has a living space, and then it has an attic space, and then it has an equipment space. And the bats live in the attic space or the void, typically, and we don't want them in with the congregation, of course.
No.
And so the biggest challenge sometimes is not only the animal, but the quantity of animals that you're dealing with and the quality of the structure. And so if the structure is, dilapidated and the quantity of the animals you're dealing with is great, then you have big challenges.
And brown bats they're really endangered, I believe, if I'm not mistaken there.
Michael, what do you think?
What was the species?
Is it the brown bat? I think it's a brown?
Yeah, well,
is that
big brown bat. So there's two. There's little brown bats, which are highly endangered now. Then there's big brown bats, which are like almost 3 times the size, and they're protected but not endangered.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was the little brown bat. I can't. And Arnold was talking at the beginning of the show that you catch them in your hands or something. Bats.
Well, so here's the whole story behind bare hands Baran. Quickly, is we have a lot of tools, and in our industry, which is nuisance wildlife control operators have a lot of tools at their disposal. Now, most of these tools are made from aluminum and metal, and you can use them, and you should. However, I feel like I am gentler to the animal when I use my bare hands because, one, I know where to grab them, how to grab them, but two, I can apply just the right amount of pressure to control them without putting too much pressure on them to hurt them. And an example would be snakes. We have aluminum snake tongs that are 4 feet long, and you can pick up a snake with these snake tongs. But it's really easy to break a snake's ribs. Ooh. Real easy, real easy, if you squeeze them too hard with those tongs. Where if I pick it up with my hands, 90% of the snakes don't bite, especially if you don't squeeze them. And you can go to my YouTube page, Wildlife Command Center YouTube, and you can see me picking up snakes. And one thing you'll notice is that I always gently grasp them, and I never squeeze them, and I don't hold them down. I let them wiggle around and do whatever they want to do, and they never bite me.
Huh. You grab them by the tail first?
No, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Is that right?
I'll grab them by the tail to hold them, but usually if you can grab them in the middle of the body and don't squeeze, don't pinch them when you're picking them up. You scoop them, and they typically don't bite. Now, every once in a while I get a feisty one that will bite me in the face or something like that, but, it's not going to hurt you. It's scary, but it's not going to hurt you.
Kids, don't try this at home.
Not yet, not unless you know those stripes on the back of that stick.
or the shape of the head.
Right, shape of the head, right.
No one except Bare Hands Baran should ever handle an animal barehanded.
I'm with you on that one. I agree.
That's my official disclaimer.
That's why you should call Wildlife Command Center.
Exactly, at 314-399-8272. We will handle the situation for you.
8272.
Now, Michael, talk about these Cash Quest. I know you're a really big fan of and player of Pokemon Go. So what was the origin of this? And explain this whole $10,000 grand prize.
$10,000 cash.
A lot of
I have
money.
to say that because $10,000. It took me a long time to save up $10,000 that I could do this with.
Wow.
But here's how it starts. So I do love Pokemon Go. When Pokemon Go came out in 2016, I started my company in 2010, 6 years before Pokemon Go. At the time, my catchphrase for the company is we can catch it. And then when Pokemon Go came out and their catchphrase was, gotta catch them all, I was like, we gotta play that. And so in 2016, when that came out, me and all my technicians, man, we were playing Pokemon Go like crazy. Then it died off a little bit. And then 2 years ago, we all picked it back up because it made some improvements in the game or whatever. But we love Pokemon Go because it gets you out in nature. It gets you out doing stuff. It gets you out moving around. And there's this virtual world where you can catch stuff.
Wow.
These little creatures. But I got really big into it to the point that all my technicians, everybody that works for me is required to play. Everybody's got to be on Team Instinct because animal instinct, Team Instinct. And we have a Poke Gym right in our office in the headquarters that says Wildlife Command Center, and we give out gifts, and it's got a link to my YouTube channel, Wildlife Command Center YouTube, and we're all in. We're all invested. And it has been the greatest marketing technique that I use because we're out playing. People talk to us. They see our shirts that say, we can catch it. They go, hey, got to catch them. Like, that's a common thing every day. And so it's been a great ploy. While I'm out playing, I travel from city to city filming movies. And while I'm in a particular city, I'll go to the Pokemon Park or whatever park. I love Fenton City Park. I love Sculpture Park here in St. Louis.
Uh-huh.
When I'm in Las Vegas, I love Sunset Park. Those are great places to play Pokemon. I noticed all these kids out and everybody having a good time, families out. And then one time, about 2 years ago, I was there during Easter, and they were hiding Easter eggs all over the place in this park. And they were playing Pokemon Go, and they were finding Easter eggs. And this idea popped in my head. What if I hid one egg, and it had a $100 bill in it, and I made a little video about where I hid it. I posted it to YouTube, and it became hugely successful. Like, people were getting into it, Pokemon Go players especially. And so that's how the Cash Quest was born. Now, recently, we're involved with this major network show. I've got a PR person. I've got a producer here locally, Michael Francis Presents, great St. Louis producer. And he's like, why don't we do this big? Because that's what producers do. Let's do it big. And I was like, okay, let's do it big. So the St. Louis Extraordinary Cash Quest with a $10,000 cash prize was born. That's the birthing of it.
That's really cool. And it starts July the 1st, and it goes to August the 31st. And actually, Michael Francis presents. We had him on the show.
Yeah.
We had him on.
Isn't he great?
He's great. We had him on several. It's probably like a month and a half ago. And when he had just come back to St. Louis and doing some things, he's great. So if I want to join this $10,000 cash grand prize contest, what do I need to do and how does this work?
If you want to form a team of 6 people, then you have until June 15th at midnight or a minute before midnight to register your team. You can go to www.buywcc.com, and there is a form there, and you register your team. That needs to be done before June 15th. If you're going to play as an individual, then go to my YouTube channel, watch the clues. I would suggest going and watching some of the old Cash Quests that have been found so that you can see how it's going to be done. And then on July the 1st at 10 a.m., YouTube is programmed to drop 12 videos that will take you straight to 12 actual treasure boxes that have the representation of a $100 bill in them.
It's almost like geocaching.
And if you find 10 of those 12, then you will be qualified for the $10,000 Cash Quest grand prize. Wow. $10,000.
I'm rubbing my hands together
now,
right now.
The reason I say qualify is because if there's some kind of tie or if there's some kind of problem, there's some rules like no trespassing, no breaking the law, no collusion with other teams. Don't do anything illegal. Every one of these treasures is hidden in a city park, a county park, or a state park. Public access walking trail to the treasure.
Wow.
All right.
And some of your videos, one of your videos I saw, you identify what the box looks like so people can see that, and there's instructions inside of what to do. And if one team gets 6 or another team gets 4 and another team gets 2, is there some kind of way to figure out who's going to win that $10,000?
Yes. So one team or one person has to find all 10 of the boxes.
Okay.
So you got to find 10 to win the $10,000 grand prize.
Okay.
Now you're guaranteed the $100 that's in the treasure. Okay.
Okay.
You're guaranteed that money. Now, if we have a tie, let's just say one team finds 6 boxes, another team finds 6 boxes. So they tie. All right?
Okay.
Nobody found 10, but nobody found more than anybody else. But whichever team finds the most boxes will qualify for a consolation prize. And it's a pretty good one. And the consolation prize is this. If both teams found 6 boxes each, whoever turned in their proof first, timestamp, that breaks the tie. So if Team X sent in their first picture at 10 o'clock on July the 1st, and Team 2 didn't send one in until 2 days later, then Team 1's going to win the tie.
Gotcha.
Or however the tie might happen, that's going to be the tiebreaker. Whoever's picture came in first for the very first one. All right?
Wow.
So let's just say somebody finds 4 boxes, somebody else finds 3 boxes, and a couple of other individuals find. Whoever found 4 boxes, whoever found the most, they get the consolation prize. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a box, and it's going to have 10 envelopes in it. And inside the envelopes, there's going to be a number. It's either going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. So if you found 4 boxes, then you know you have won $400. Correct?
Yeah.
We're going to let you pull an envelope. And I promise it'll be televised. We're going to let you pull an envelope, and whatever number is in that envelope, you get to multiply it times how much you found, and that's going to be your new prize amount. So if you found $400 and you pull a 10, your new prize is $4,000.
That'll work.
That's a nice consolation prize.
That'll work. That is a nice consolation.
Money motivates.
Does.
And the whole point in all of this is to get people, and I was hoping families, out into nature to experience nature again after the pandemic, have something to have fun, and a monetary incentive, besides just fun, a monetary incentive to really get people out. And I was hoping that we could have 200, 300, 400, 500 people get out into nature that normally may or may not have wanted to get out, because everybody's still scared.
And that makes a lot of sense, because a lot of times people will hole up in their quote-unquote man caves, or it's too hot outside kind of deal, and to at least get out and do an activity in nature, whether it's walking a trail in a county or city park or something like that, being out, having a picnic, enjoying the outdoors. I remember when we were kids, we were always outside. Now, we didn't have the kind of rule that your mom had. We just had to be home that day by dinner time that night.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the weekend kind of deal.
Mine was the street lights. When the street lights come on, you come home.
There you go.
That's right.
But being outside,
that's a good one.
Yeah, it's good. It's beneficial, and we're not looking at a screen, looking at a phone, looking at a computer game. We're actually engaging animals. We're engaging people. We're engaging nature.
Yeah, I love it. Sounds great.
You know, one of the videos, and one of the clues, when you said engaging animals, one of the videos and one of the clues. So I was out looking for a place to hide a box, and I heard this huge pleated woodpecker just knocking away. And so I was like, I'm going to find it, because that's how I am. Because one, it's a big woodpecker. It's the biggest one we have in Missouri. It's the biggest one we have in the United States. And two, they're not real common. Like, they're not rare, but they're just not real common. And I was like, I'm going to go find that booger real quick. And so I'm looking around, and I was standing on the trail, and the sun was shining on this tree, and it was a big old bark trunk of a tree way up high, and he had pecked a perfectly round hole up there, and I looked around, and I saw the perfect hiding spot. So that woodpecker hole is in one of the clues, and it will clue you in that you're really close to where the treasure is hidden.
Huh. It's like getting warmer.
Yeah.
You're hot now.
Wow.
You hear that woodpecker. You see that hole.
Yeah.
If you see the hole, you'll know you're really hot. But it was such a epiphany. I was like, I've got to find a place here. So it worked out pretty good. So the clues, the video clues, I literally took a GoPro camera from where I hid the treasure box and walked all the way back to a very distinct marker of exactly which park I was at, and I stopped the video.
Wow.
And I have manipulated those videos in such a way that it's quite clever when you're going in there and trying to figure out, well, where am I? Well, what park is this? And so here's some things about the video clues. Don't fast forward because you're going to miss the blip. And if you can stop the video right on the blip, you might get warm. And make sure you look at all the clues, because a treasure map is pretty one-dimensional. A piece of paper, markings on it. But when you're doing video clues, it's very inclusive. It's 360. And also YouTube. I've hidden some of the clues in the YouTube, on the YouTube itself.
Wow.
Because, you know, there's a description.
Right.
And so some of the clues are hidden there. And there's just a lot of place that I can sneak little clues in that you'll need to be able to decipher the code. And also, I changed the code up. There's 12 videos, and so 4 of them I used one coding process, 4 of them I used another coding process, and then 4 of them I used a different. And so there's actually 4 super easy videos, there's 4 intermediate videos, and then there's 4 videos that I think are going to be a challenge.
And how long are these videos with the clues?
Anywhere from 4 to 5 minutes to one of them's 18 minutes.
Okay.
Because one of them's way out into, I had to climb a park that's got a really tall hill in it and lots of rock steps and stuff, and it took me a little while to get in, and it took me 18 minutes to get back out.
And are they all in Missouri, all the parks? I think
so. All the parks are in what we consider the greater St. Louis area.
Okay.
Now, this cache quest is called the St. Louis Extraordinary Cache Quest.
Okay.
All right? Now, I have 9 offices across the United States.
Right.
You can imagine that if this goes well, that I'm probably going to do it again in these other cities.
I bet.
Now, this will be like an odd question, but based upon what you just said, how long did it take you to get all the videos taken and all the clues stuff written and edited and posted to have it from start to finish? How long did that take you?
It took me right at 45 days.
Wow.
To do that. And also, I am the only person that knows exactly where each of the treasure boxes is hidden.
Ooh.
Now, I do have a team, and I do have help, but I wanted security to be high because I didn't want anybody leaking any clues.
Right.
And if you want something done and you want it done right, do it yourself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mike.
Marla helps me with all the PR work. Michael helps me with all the promotion. My wife and my team, they help me keep things running, and they help me with all of the raptor rescue. But I'm the only one that knows exactly where all 12 of the treasures. So that means I had to edit the videos, which means I had to learn how to edit video. And yeah, there's a lot to it.
It's a process.
Sometimes necessity is the motherhood of invention.
That's correct.
You know?
That's correct.
Yeah.
We've been talking to Michael Baran. He is the owner of Wildlife Command Center, president of Raptor Rescue, and he's got a huge cash quest, $10,000 cash quest coming up that starts July 1st. But, folks, you need to sign up if you're doing a group by June the 15th. If you're doing individuals, you can do this by your own, but the registration is buywcc.com/contest, buywcc.com/contest. Michael, thanks for coming on St. Louis in Tune. We greatly appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Y'all have been great hosts. Y'all kept me on track. I love this program.
Great.
Keep listening, Michael.
And we're going to have you back when whatever the TV station.
When you go syndicated
There you
on
go.
television.
On television, yeah. That's when we're going to bring you back.
As soon as they announce this, man, I have so much to tell y'all.
I can't
I
wait.
have so much to tell you.
Yeah.
We want to hear it. We want to hear it. Thanks,
deal.
Michael.
All right, Michael. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
He is something.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. Can you imagine growing up in Catahoula swamps down in Louisiana and leaving Friday afternoon after school and not coming back till it's dark on Sunday night?
Oh, my God. What parents?
Yeah, maybe they were like, yeah, great, the kids are gone. Oh, boy.
I don't know. You could go either way with that. They're really good parents or they don't care.
Being boys, too.
Yeah.
Fishing and catching crawdads and all that kind of stuff. That'd be
Sounds
fun.
like they made the most of it, too. Like we're going to take 3 matches.
I love it. Here's our challenge to be...
And only 3 hooks and some string, and we're going to stay out all night.
We're gonna carve these sticks into spears.
Now, still, even if they made the lean-to like they talked about and put all the evergreens to make it nice and soft,
Right.
I'd still be worried about a crocodile coming up in the middle of the night wanting to eat for dinner or dessert or something.
Or snakes crawling on up.
Yeah, but he'd grab them in the middle.
Yeah, that's right.
I know.
Tail grabs there.
I've seen snake guys grab these snakes by their tail and hold them up and then go for the rest of the body. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, I've seen those noose things. They're like on a long stick, and you get it around their head, and then you flip something and gets them behind their neck.
I'm going to stay in a studio like this, and I'm not going to do the whole thing.
We'll have to bring in some fake snake to really get him. You've been out in the woods.
Yeah. I still don't like snakes. At least the ones that are brown with the big heads.
Yeah.
And the diamonds on them.
The diamonds, yeah, that's correct.
I don't care for those snakes.
The name's Fang.
Yeah. Okay.
We are glad you decided to listen to this episode of St. Louis in Tune. We know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and we are glad that you have chosen to listen to us. St. Louis in Tune is produced in cooperation with KWRH 92.9 FM and Motif Media Group. For St. Louis in Tune, I'm Arnold Stricker.